Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to start a new series on the channel where we'll be looking at each individual race in Total War Warhammer and seeing what units, lords and heroes they may be missing that was established in all of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and any other stuff that was connected to Warhammer Fantasy in general, such as the role-playing game series, and anything that wasn't represented with a model might be represented with a basic question mark on the screen. But without further ado, let's begin. Firstly, we'll be starting up with the Brays. Brays are the lowest form of beastmen breed. To the ordinary person, they look like average beastmen, but they do not possess any horns. It is because of this that the rest of the Bray herd see them as lesser beings. Brays are normally mistreated, underfed, and treated like no better than slaves. So their role in Total War Warhammer could be very similar to that of Skaven slaves. Cheap in terms of low cost and upkeep, not very good in melee combat, but good enough to use as tar pit units. Next up would be the mutants. Mutants aren't beastmen in any way, shape or form, instead they're mutated humans, as expected from the name. However, many mutants have been sighted within the ranks of some beastmen Bray herds, especially that of Ongrol Fourhorn. So it could be possible that this could be a legendary lord specific unit just for Ongrol Fourhorn should he ever get added into the game. Mutants would probably be a basic skirmish infantry unit, nothing too special but very early game and possibly a bit quicker than your standard Gore. Next we have the Jabberslife. So this monster is in Total War Warhammer limbo, to be honest, as Creative Assembly themselves have said that it would take too many resources to create this monster, which I feel is a massive shame. It is an incredibly fast moving creature which is known to be a powerhouse in melee combat, a monster that inspires terror to all those who look upon it, and a personal favourite of mine. I mean, just look at the model, it's awesome, isn't it? Next up we have the Praeton, which is very similar to the Jabberslife itself. It's incredibly fast moving, inspires terror, and so on. However, the big difference here is that this beast can fly incredibly fast, which can be a massive problem in the battlefield when you're trying to shoot down such a monster. The Praetons are also known to fall under a very strange and dark bloodlust, which would make them quite hard to control. How this could be translated in Total War Warhammer would be that they could go on a rampage if they take too much damage. Ettins are a rather curious creature of the Warhammer fantasy world. They're around the size of giants more or less, but they have two heads, and a lot of people describe them as the same way as giants. However, they do have a lot of distinctions. Yes, they are very good at close combat, but a lot of Ettins have been known to wield the winds of magic, various different laws to be in fact. So if anything, it could be that we could get Ettins in the same way as the Dreadsaurians, where they would be rather limited, and they would also have a few bound spells. Nothing too major, maybe one or two for the respective lore that they might have. There are in truth a few different types of Ettin, which all form from the same one, but I imagine that we'll only get one or two variants at the very most. The incarnate elemental of beasts is the very raw form of the wind of beasts itself being made manifest. This creature, if it can even be called that, considering that it is raw magical energy made manifest, towers over even the largest of monsters, and it is said that its howl can be heard from many cities away. Once again, I imagine such a powerful creature to only be available to be recruited in small numbers in a very similar way to the Dreadsaurian. An interesting mechanic for this could be that it would be a very powerful monster with an extremely high health pool, but maybe you would not be able to control this beast itself. Once deployed on the battlefield, it could go on its own blood-fueled rampage with no means of controlling it. This would represent the raw bestial power of the Wind of Gur. We're going to cover two units here, as essentially they're the same thing, just with an addition to them. These are the Tuskor and the Tuskor Chariot. So both the Tuskor and the Tuskor Chariot are almost identical to the Razorgore and the Razorgore Chariot. The only major difference here, or minor difference really, is that the Tuskor itself is more powerful than the Razorgore. So in Total War Warhammer they could be represented as a little bit stronger, faster, and with a decent amount of HP. The next monster here would be the Gorgon, which is one of the most highly requested units to join the Total War Warhammer franchise. It's become a bit of a meme in the forums too, and I see why people want this model so badly. Yes, I am aware that many do believe that this just acts like a giant, but it's not really the case. It's faster and more devastating in melee combat as it's got 4 arms, it's usually much quicker in terms of lashing out attacks. And despite the fact that it carries no armor, it is incredibly tough in close combat, meaning that it can take a decent amount of punishment without dying. So you could essentially use this monster as a tar pit in its own. Before we continue, I just want to say that there are other forms of beastmen such as the Caprigors, Bovigors and so on, but I'm not adding them to this list mainly because, well, they're just basic reskins. They would have the same basic functions as Gors and Ungors, so the only way I can actually see these realistically being added in would be if they just get added in with the unit variety for every basic Ungor and Gor troop. Now these beastmen don't have any models whatsoever, that of the South Waste beastmen. So these are a rather interesting type of beastmen, mainly because they're not a fusion between man and beast, but rather demon and beast. It's rather unfortunate that these monsters never received any models, and in truth they barely had any lore to begin with. I think more or less they had around 5 sentences at the very most. But it would be rather interesting to see what these creatures could actually look like, and Total War Warhammer might be the best bet. For this next section, we're going to cover 4 units at the same time, mainly because they are all Gors that are just touched by the influence of different Chaos Gods. The Tzaangors, the Slangors, the Khorngors, and the Pestigors. On a personal note, I just hope that the Slangors, the Pestigors, and the Khorngors get a nice visual update. The Tzaangors got a nice visual update in Age of Sigmar, so it'd be rather interesting if we saw the other ones get one too. Now each of these 4 units were pretty much just Gors with the blessings of their respective Chaos Gods, but I figured that this could translate rather well in Total War Warhammer. Tzaangors would have an affinity to magic, possibly with the form of a bound spell or two. The Slangors would be fast and very decent anti-armor units. Pestigors would be slow but very resilient in close combat. And finally the Khorngors. Originally they had great weapons in the tabletop, but I'd like to see them with additional hand weapons and be made into a berserker type anti-infantry unit. I don't imagine the basic Ungors being blessed, but it could be that we could get a variant of the Minotaurs being blessed. These are established in the lore, but we didn't really get any models for them, though it could be possible. Zanbulls, Slanbulls, Khornbulls, and Pestabulls, I believe that was the name for the last one. But with that, I believe we've looked at all possible units that could be added to the Beastmen roster. Now we look towards Lords, Heroes, and Legendary Lords. First up would be the Wargor, which essentially would be your melee class hero, something that is extremely lacking in the Beastmen roster. Right now you can only recruit Shamans, and yeah, they work really well, but sometimes you need a little bit of an extra punch. This hero would act as your basic unit buffer, be decent in melee combat, and also come in either foot or be upgraded to ride a chariot. For this next option, we'll be covering both its Lord and Hero format, that of a Centaur Lord or Hero. Centaur Lords and Heroes aren't really that needed in the Total War Warhammer series, however it would be quite nice to have in the terms of a more thematic army, where you could field full Centaur armies, just a pure 20 stack of them. These could be beneficial for your reinforcement armies if you need something fast to flank around the enemy. But moving on, we're going to check out the Doombull. Once again, it's kinda not needed, but I know a lot of people do want it, and it would work out for a very thematic army if you're just fielding full 20 stacks of Minotaurs. Next would be the Great Bray Shaman, a generic lord choice that would be able to wield the winds of magic. Very much needed, especially for the beastmen that do quite rely on magic. We currently have access to standard Bray Shamans in the form of heroes and agents, but it would be great to be able to lead armies directly with another caster. Given the fact that this is now possible with the High Elves with the release of the Warden and the Paunch DLC, I assume that many other races will be able to do so soon. Now we're going to move on to the named characters, and to be honest, the best thing we can do is hope for the ones implemented in the last army book, that of the 7th edition army book, as that book is the one filled with the most iconic characters. There are a few others, but they're very unknown in the lore, and to be honest, very forgettable. First up, we have Taurox the Brass Bull. This is a Minotaur character, but instead of being a standard Minotaur, his flesh has now been changed to that of brass. Taurox is a near unstoppable war machine who only wishes to cause destruction. This would be a perfect legendary lord choice, especially for those who favour Minotaurs. Next up would be Gorfor the Beast Lord, a character many people consider the Beastman equivalent to the Everchosen. Gorfor should be able to buff up Gors and Pestigors quite dramatically, acting as a massive leadership bubble too. He would also excel in close combat and be able to be fielded either on foot or riding atop a chariot. Next up is Ungral Forhorn. So this is a rather interesting character, mainly because he's a bit of an outcast, and his armies have featured not only just beastmen, but sometimes ruffians and forms of mutants. I see this more as a leadership buff type of hero, nothing too special for anything else, to be honest. He wasn't too impressive on the tabletop either, so it could be that he could be a legendary character instead of a legendary lord. Second to last, we have Slugtongue, a character which many consider to be just Morgor light. And yeah, I can kind of see this because the character itself is pure corruption, everything that he goes near gets corrupted, there is a dark aura about him. It does kind of look like a copy-paste. But they could make this character a bit more interesting by giving him, for example, the Law of Nurgle, which is very corrupting, it's pestilent. It won't make him seem like such a copy-paste hero. That being said, this is one of the characters that I think that would never get implemented into the Total War Warhammer series, mainly because he's so similar to someone else. But now lastly we have Moonclaw, a creature created from pure raw chaos matter. This is the most unique Beastmen hero, considering the fact that he's not actually a Beastman, but rather was born from Warpstone, and is so in tune with the raw powers of chaos that it is said that he is able to summon Warpstone meteors from the sky. Sadly, most of these characters that we discussed never had official models, which, yeah, was a bit of a shame, especially during the tabletop time that you had to kit bash to create them. But this might be the perfect time to see these characters reimagined. Now, this was our list for all missing units, lords, heroes, and legendary characters for the Beastmen. It could be possible that we may have missed one or two out, so if there's any that we have missed out and you guys are aware of, let us know in the comments below. But what do you think about these units, lords, and heroes? Do you think they'd eventually be implemented into the Total War Warhammer series? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything, really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Birch for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately, and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly, guys, thank you so much for all the support lately. It's been amazing. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.